Hey, everybody, I'm Candid Frankie's Aaron William Freeland, and I want to start by saying, Aaron, how's your pre-weekend night going?
It's going all right, all things considered. Got some stuff marinating, got something on the stove soaking so I can cook it as soon as we get done, and got a gaming session with friends coming up. So it looks like it's going to be a good night. How about you,
Good.
Frank? What you got?
Uh, what I got is last night I watched the football game
Mm-hmm.
in Saskatchewan, and what a game! What a great game! And we've been talking with David on our CFL show about. I've been impressed by the amount of really good quarterbacks in the Canadian Football League. A couple of years ago, if two or three quarterbacks, like top notch quarterbacks, went down, there wouldn't be any left. This year, every team except one has a legitimate quarterback that could win the Grey Cup. And last night was an indication of how true that fact is. I don't know if if you had a chance to watch the game, but both Fajardo and Harris were amazing. They were fantastic offensively as quarterbacks. The yardage that they churned up, the way they ripped the defenses up a little bit until the defenses ripped the offenses up. It was special teams, everything you expect from a football team was delivered by both teams, and the game was not over until the last second. And I got to tell you, I was on the edge of my seat the whole night watching that game. Very impressed with the game, and there's all this talk about the game being tortured by the commissioner, and tossed out a Canadian style of the game. I always feel and believe what makes the game Canadian isn't the rules. It's not the rules. It's not the field. It's the fact that they're Canadian teams playing in Canadian cities. You can't take the Canadian out of football until you take all the Canadian cities out of it. Now, when you add an American team, that's a different story. Now we're starting to talk about Americanizing the game because we're bringing the Americans in, and now it's a different. For me, that's I look at face value. So at face value right now, we've got 9 Canadian cities lucky enough to have Canadian teams in a year when the quarterbacks that are filling the league allow us the opportunity to still have good quarterbacks even when three, count them, three have gone down. So those three teams um, will have difficulty. It's understood. And the good news is one of them has a replacement. Brown is a replacement. We watched here on this show, we follow the Argos, or at least I do. And we watched the Argos win a Grey Cup with a backup quarterback. So, as far as I'm concerned, the game is still Canadian. It will be Canadian as long as Canadian teams are involved in it and Canadian fans get to watch. And the important thing to me is that Canadian fans get to watch live football. I don't think football's any better other than when it's live. So there's my little rant in appreciation of the game that we saw last night.
And Fajardo going for 510 yards with 4 touchdowns, man. That was
Oh,
that was something.
oh.
He's in rather distinct company there. Danny Barrett, Jason Moss, and Tobin Rote are
Yep.
the only other guys to go with 500 plus yards. That's something special. And it
And
wasn't that long ago that he was out with a neck injury. So,
yeah,
his comeback
he's
has been
he's
miraculous.
also he's also in there with Ricky Ray territory with well, a few players have been with complete passes in a row, without an interception. So
Yeah.
okay, let's talk about the show now. About the starting story was, of course, we were going to talk about the Maple Leafs, which is fine. Second best is good enough for Toronto. The fans, were tortured last year with a team that regrettably did not play well enough for the playoffs, and regrettably, through the big run of 10 years with the core four, did not make it to the Stanley Cup final. Not win. They didn't make it to the Stanley Cup final ever in the time that the core four existed. But here we are in a situation where Maple Leaf fans are going to be asked to pay more to see games when they stream the games.
And, with the recent removal of Hockey Night in Canada from CBC, that That's another issue that we're looking at here. Standard monthly plans are jumping by $5 a month, so that's another $60 a year, going from $29.99 to $34.99. Premium monthly plans, a little bit better. They're going from $42.99 to $44.99, and annual plans are climbing by $20 to $344.99, which is, I mean, honestly, that's getting really expensive. About the second most expensive streaming service out there is DAZN, which is only 280. I say only, but it's $280 for that for an annual subscription. And for those of you who are saying that having a monopoly like this and one company controlling all of the hockey rights wasn't going to affect anything, I present to you Exhibit frickin' A here.
B and C.
Oh my God! And here's the thing, Sportsnet Plus it wasn't their apps. Quite frankly, is what's the word I'm looking here for, Frank? Bad. Yeah.
Oh, is that the word?
Yeah, there are lots of other words, but in the interest of being family friendly, yeah, their app is bad. TSN Plus is almost better, but yeah, $345 plus taxes, starting September 22nd, 2026 is. It feels like it's verging on gouging territory, and it's not a good feeling to see our national sport get paywalled like that. It's just not good.
Actually, the president of the United States weighed in on that subject matter, talking about,
because of course he did.
And when he's talking about and suggesting that individuals or a party are being unfair with financial basically rip-offs, he felt people are being ripped off by that. And if he's saying it, boy, you really have to look in the mirror if he's talking about it, I gotta tell you. Well, you know what, Aaron, the good news is, and I don't dispute the fact that watching Leaf games or watching Bruins or watching the Cavs or watching any team in the NHL that you want to watch, and if it's getting too expensive for you to watch, there's always other hockey, other sports, and that you don't have to pay for, other than your eyes have to be inundated with commercials. Other than that, it is what it is. People will only pay what they can, and that's after they pay what they can is more than they should. So the tolerance level may be one that people will pay a high price that they shouldn't, but there is a threshold that these sports streaming apps will surpass, to the point where people go, you know what? If I only knew how to cancel I only knew how to cancel it. They'll have to figure out how to cancel it, which a lot of people have stuff they pay for they don't even know they're paying for. So it's a great business. Not in it, but we watch what we can go, for fun. And if that's the way it is, that's the way it is. You got your choice, folks. You can decide whether you want it or not. Let's go to Leaf assistant. Oh, sorry. Let's go to Maple Leafs have a different path to lose Morgan Riley.
Yeah, so his name persists in Toronto Maple Leafs trade rumors this offseason. But if a deal doesn't come to fruition, they might have a different way to move on from the defenseman in a year's time. If he doesn't bounce back, there's chatter about a 33rd NHL team joining the league, and that would mean an expansion draft. And an expansion draft means that each team has to protect some players and leave others unprotected. It's entirely possible that they could actually leave Riley unprotected. And Toronto's drop-off when it comes to players outside of the top six makes it really easy to go 4 forwards, 4 defensemen, and 1 goalie. Radish, McCabe, Emil Andre, those feel like defenders worth keeping around, and that means asking either Tanev or Riley to waive their no-movement clause. Given the rumors still swirling, that's the logical choice to leave exposed. At least that's according to the Athletic's Shayna Goldman. Now, the other question, obviously, on the flip side of this is, would a new team pick Riley? I mean, there's certainly no guarantee, but he could be worth snagging for them. Toronto would probably protect Matthews, Nylander, Tavares, and Nyes, Radish, McCabe, Tanev, and Andre, and their new big boy in net, Sergei Bobrovsky. However, if Nyes were to be traded, before an expansion team joins the league, there is a possibility that list would change. But as it currently stands, those look like the 9 that would be protected. Certainly, it's a list of all the usual suspects. And Riley, unfortunately, looks like he falls outside of that group.
Yeah, and you wouldn't have to worry about younger players because they wouldn't be candidates to be taken.
Exactly. There's not enough history behind those guys to make them worth picking up as a risk for an expansion team who needs results now.
And they would be not available. Leafs assistant GM Ryan Hardy rounds out Marley's staff. What's he doing?
So Chris Bork was named assistant general manager. The Toronto Marlies rounded out their hockey ops and coaching staff and locked in the continuity under Toronto Maple Leafs assistant general manager Ryan Hardy. You've also got Denver Manderson and Greg Moore joining the coaching staff as assistants under head coach Steve Sullivan. Now, this move comes after the organization previously confirmed Sullivan as the new head coach following Gruden's promotion to the Maple Leafs as an assistant coach. This is actually Greg Moore's second kick at the can. His first kick at the can was particularly disastrous for the Marlies in the first 3 years of his tenure there as a head coach. They didn't even get close to the playoffs. So that's something. At least he's not back in the head role at this particular point. It looks like they've gone to try to give him a little more seasoning before giving him as much responsibility as they did previously.
Let's go over the Toronto Blue Jays and their closer made team history.
Yeah, this was actually kind of neat. This season, the Jays are 47 and 56. They're last place in the American League East and 12 and a half games out of first place in the division. But one of the bright spots this season has been Louis Varland. According to StatCenter, Varland has the lowest ERA in a single season by a Blue Jays pitcher who's thrown a minimum of 25 innings. That's ahead of other hurlers, including Aaron Sanchez, B.J. Ryan, Taijuan Walker, Tim Meza, and Matt Shoemaker. He etched his name into franchise history after scoreless ninth inning in a 3-1 win against Tampa Bay on Thursday. That's last night, which helped Toronto avoid being swept in the 4-game series. Interestingly enough, that was, I believe, their second win since the All-Star break, which is not a good thing. But over 31 innings pitched, Varland had a 0.28 ERA, a 126 FIP, a 35% strikeout percentage, was throwing balls 7.5% of the time, and was batting 103. Was pitching 103 WHIP. So, he's been absolutely dominant for the Jays this season. Unlike Hoffman, he's one of those guys where he comes out to the mound and I'm okay with it.
I just think that the Jays would be in a better place if they had walked away or sat Hoffman down a little sooner. They could have sat him down completely, at least 2 weeks earlier. And I think there would have been a few games in there that would have padded their standings a little more, and they wouldn't be in such a bad place in that case. But that's just me, and I'm not a baseball man. I'm not a major league baseball manager, but I really felt he should have been gone 2 weeks earlier, where it was clear he just didn't have it anymore. Let's go to the Jays, or let's stay in the Jays and talk about a possible Gold Glove outfielder being traded by the Blue Jays.
Yeah, we're about 2 weeks away from the trade deadline. As of today, we are 6 games behind the Boston Red Sox for the third and final AL wildcard spot. Vladdy hasn't been playing up to snuff. George Springer hasn't been hitting as well as he could be. The issue here is that we've got a whole bunch of people that are impending free agents that we can trade, including somebody with a 678 OPS in 90 games this season. I am speaking, of course, of Dalton Varsho. He's one expiring player, and by expiring we mean his contract is, not him physically. He's one expiring player who's both unlikely to re-sign in Toronto and will have a significant value on the trade market. Any deadline selling from Toronto will likely include a Varsho trade, according to the Athletics' Mitch Bannon. Varsho had a much stronger offensive season in 2025. He hit 20 and drove in 55 along with an 833 OPS. But he's one of the top outfielders currently on the trade market, and any team that needs another lefty bat could potentially show interest for him. As much as you don't want to get rid of him, because there's still the belief that the Jays can get back into the playoffs, especially after their miraculous run to the World Series last year. Toronto fans are probably going to have to face some harsh realities in that they may not be able to do that.
Absolutely. Let's talk about the fact that the NBA and LeBron announces he's joining the 76ers, and that's not a surprise.
No, he said that he thought he was done when the season ended and he wasn't ready to announce it. He knew he needed some time to decide, but he was pretty sure that he played his last game. But if he was being honest with himself, he says he believes he can take the Sixers to a championship team, and he's so excited to energize a new fan base and start this incredible journey one last time. They are looking to be absolutely stacked. The trading for Jaylen Brown signals Philadelphia's intent to compete for a championship. Joel Embiid is still there. And while LeBron is no longer an MVP contender, he's still one of basketball's most impactful players at 41 years old. So it's one of those cases here where he's trying to draw other players there as well to potentially create another NBA super team, which is something that they're able to do mainly because there's no real cap to speak of, and he's going to a team with Embiid, James Brown, VJ Edgecombe, and Tyrese Maxey. That is something that looks like a three-headed monster that I would not want to meet any time of the year.
Well, it's going to happen.
100%. We're in our division.
Soccer Canada hires a new coach for their women's team.
Yeah. They've hired Ellery Earnshaw as an assistant coach. She's going to be joining Casey Stoney's staff ahead of the 2026 CONCACAF Women's Qualifiers, which determines spots at the 2027 Women's World Cup and for the 2028 Los Angeles Olympics. Now, for those who don't know her, Ellery Earnshaw is a 41-year-old from Wales who spent the past 5 seasons with the National Women's Soccer League club Angel City FC, most recently as an assistant coach. She's also coached at the collegiate and international levels, worked with the Welsh women's national team and the United States women's under-20 team. Before embarking on her coaching career, she also played for England's Arsenal and Barnet before continuing her professional career in the States. She's also earned 21 senior caps for Wales. She said she's really excited to be joining the staff. It's a team with high standards and a clear ambition, and she's looking forward to being part of the environment, getting to know the players, and contributing to the work ahead.
Beautiful. The NSL, a league that I used to do play-by-play for, they are bringing in a new sponsor, their Vancouver team. As they refer to the uniforms as kits, there's going to be a new logo on their kit.
Yeah, the National Bank has joined the NSL as a front-of-kit sponsor for the Vancouver Rise. The logo is going to be directly across the front of the jersey, with a smaller patch displaying the team's logo on the upper right side of the shirt. Now, the patch with the team's logo on it is unchanged from the previous jersey, which didn't feature a front-of-kit sponsor. They are the current National Soccer League defending champions, and they're going to debut this kit Saturday against Halifax at Swangard Stadium. Now, this is significant because National Bank's involvement indicates an increased corporate investment in the domestic women's soccer league, which is set to expand to 7 teams next year with a new franchise in Winnipeg. Apex, which is a sports investment firm with F1 drivers Carlos Sainz Jr. and Lando Norris, and Portuguese soccer player Diogo Dalot announced a $30 million investment in the NSL just earlier this month. So this is huge news for the National Soccer League. It's great that they're getting more exposure and getting some of the support that they richly deserve.
Let's talk about the Ottawa Rapid. They make an extension of their streak.
Yeah, they've extended their unbeaten run in the Northern Super League to 8 straight games with a 2-1 win over Calgary Wild on Wednesday. Joanne Fridland scored the winner in the 72nd minute for Ottawa, who are now 10-2-1. This is a 4th straight win in the Women's Pro Soccer League, and that's moved them 7 points clear of the Montreal Roses atop the standings.
Another clean sheet for TFC in the MLS.
This is actually 2 in a row now. Luca Gavrin made 4 saves to help TFC play Matt Turner and the New England Revolution to a 0-0 tie. This is just a week after Toronto played CF Montreal to a scoreless draw. It was his career-high 3rd shutout in 16 starts this season. The Revolution are 1-1-1 at home since winning a club record 6 straight to start the season, so they've hit a bit of a dry spell. But yeah, I'm happy to see that Toronto's is at least not coming up with wins, at least not coming up with more losses.
MLS Whitecaps lose 4-3 to Cincinnati.
Yeah, Pavel Buka scored 2 goals as FC Cincinnati beat the Whitecaps 4-3. Evander da Silva Ferreira, simply known as Evander, of course, added a goal and an assist for Cincinnati, and Kevin Denke also scored a goal. Roman Celentano had 3 saves from Cincinnati, who are now 6-5-5. Now, the Whitecaps, they're now 10-3-2, have played their first game since the World Cup break after the game at Chicago, which had originally been scheduled for Thursday, was postponed until October 6th due to poor air quality in the area.
We've had a lot of that. Canadian tennis player Fernandez is looking to have a hard court improvement in her game.
Yeah, when Layla was interviewed on Thursday afternoon, she said that she'd had a trying season of injuries and losses that's tested her mental fortitude. She expects to come through it as the tennis calendar shifts to the hard courts. Fernandez says that she's happy that I have the right team around me, the right people around me to bring me back down to earth, not think of the worst possible situations. She says she feels a lot better now that she's back at home and she started training and took a couple days off, and is just feeling a little more mentally prepared. She's 12-19 in singles play this season, following a 1-4 run on grass, including last month's first round exit at Wimbledon. She said that she did have a couple physical issues earlier in the season and struggled to recover once the losses began piling up. But the fact that she's had the opportunity now to take a couple weeks and collect herself means that she's going to be that much better for it.
Let's talk about tennis and Sebov.
There are a few names here. Catherine Sebov, Cadence Brace, and Rebecca Marino all got National Bank Open wildcard spots. They joined 3 previously announced wildcards, Venus Williams, Bianca Andreescu, and Kayla Cross. 2 more wildcards are going to be given up before the tournament actually begins. Rebecca Marino is from Vancouver, and she's playing in her 6th straight Canadian Open. Her best result was a run to the round of 16 in 2021. Cadence Brace is making her main draw debut at the tournament, while Sebov will make her second appearance, after losing in the first round in 2022. The rest of the draw actually includes Wimbledon finalists Gabrielle Dabrowski of Ottawa and Luisa Stefani of Brazil. Top-ranked doubles players Katerina Siniakova of Czechia will pair with China's Shuai Zhang instead of her usual partner Taylor Townsend from the United States. There are a couple more interesting doubles teams in there, including Coco Gauff and McCartney Kessler, and Belgium's Elise Mertens teaming with Russia's Diana Schneider. So that's going to be August 1st to 13th at Sobe Stadium in Toronto. It's a fantastic venue. I don't know if you've had a chance to actually see any tennis there, but worth the trip.
Interesting tennis news. The WTA is introducing gene testing.
Yeah. The WTA updated its women's eligibility policy to include gender screening based on biological sex this week to, quote unquote, preserve the integrity of women's professional tennis and maintain fair competition conditions for all players. This is due to the need to align with the International Olympic Committee, as well as Donald Trump's executive order on sports ahead of the 2028 Olympic Games in Los Angeles. They're testing players for the SRY gene, which is a segment of DNA typically found on the Y chromosome that initiates male sex development in utero and indicates the presence of testes. Basically, they're looking for a gene that says, hey, this person might have been or was at one point a man.
Is or was, either way.
Exactly. And it's
or was
discriminatory as all get out, but if that's what they feel they have to do in order to compete, I'm not going to like it, but I can understand the approach that the WTA is taking in response to Donald Trump's executive order.
I don't think it totally, Aaron. I disagree a little bit. I agree with your concern, but I don't think it's a Donald Trump thing. I think it's sports in general is, as a group, starting to look a little more carefully at competition and competition that's fair. Unfortunately, in this case, they're basically saying, their order is saying these have to be girls, not girls that were men. And I got to say this, Aaron, in fairness, we don't allow athletes to take steroids. We know that there are rules as far as drugs are concerned, and physical changing drugs that give you an advantage because of the drug, not because of your natural ability. And I think that's the word that they're starting to gravitate to, and that is natural as opposed to fabricated. That's where the fence is. And I'm sitting on there going, well, I see your point. And at the end of the day, it's not my decision, but I can understand why there are women and parents and other people who want to see their girls have a fair chance to win. I can see the concern. Am I a good judge a final judge on that situation? No, but I can see both sides of the equation.
I think the interesting thing that a lot of people choose to ignore is that women who undergo standard feminization hormone therapy, or GAHT, typically reach testosterone concentrations within or below typical cisgender female reference ranges. Now, this is not me pulling something out of my butt.
No.
This is stuff that's actually been proven by different medical journals.
I understand that.
For those individuals who are transitioning properly and doing it over the course of years, as opposed to just saying, I'm a woman for this tournament because I want to win. For the most part,
I understand, Aaron. I understand the concern, but like I said, there's pushback from people who feel natural women might be disadvantaged. I don't disagree with you that there are obvious cases where there is no disadvantage, and there never will be a disadvantage. But what they're doing here is basically regulating something that you don't agree they should be regulating, and I don't question, only because I'm not an expert at it. I can't say that there is no advantage for somebody that was a male who basically presents as a woman. The question for me is, and this is my concern, is what is the presentation? How are they being presented as women? Your point is quite good. It's a good point, saying, well, the changes made in their body doesn't raise the levels of them being a man within their female presentation, if you will. So it is what it is. It's not an easy topic to breach because quite frankly, and I think we can both agree on one thing, sports are very competitive, and every advantage is taken. And if they feel that they can take people out of the equation, and that's the only reason they're doing it, I'm on your side. If the reason they're doing it is because if you were a man and you have vestiges of your manhood still in you, and you have a physical advantage, then I'm with you saying that, not you, but with someone else saying, I understand your concern. But either way, anyway, I don't make the decision. I'm trying to understand what's going on. And
Yeah,
I
I
understand
wanted to mention something before we get off this, because I know there is a tendency to get bogged down in this sort of thing because it is apparently a contentious issue. But
very, very
it's been raised over 10 out of 510,000 athletes, which is 0.001962% of all
right.
NCAA college athletes present as trans. So this is a solution. This is a problem that doesn't need solving. The big issue that everybody brought up was Riley Gaines losing out to Leah Thomas, and that was for 5th place. I
Yeah,
just like to point that out, that
yeah, no, no,
but
no disagreement.
I just the stumbling block that some people seem to have over this sort of thing in general is just one that's supremely frustrating to me, and I think I would prefer to move on
I,
at this
I,
point in the discussion before I say something that I regret.
oh, don't regret anything. But percentages work both ways, Aaron. What percent of people win the Heisman Trophy? So it's a winning competition. It comes down to a winner and a loser. And right here, what we have is a loser either way. It's terrible. Don't misunderstand my position here. It's a tough thing, and I am not expert enough to lean 100% into anything. I respect your opinion. I respect the opinion of others. It's not something that I have. I don't have the wherewithal to understand completely. Let's go to flag football and talk about Deniquoy highlight.
So Parker and Decoy are highlighting Canada's flag football rosters for the World Championships. Women's quarterback Sarah Parker is leading the way, and Marc-Antoine Decoy is leading the way for the men. They announced their rosters for the championships, which are scheduled for August 13th to 16th in Dusseldorf, Germany. Parker, Sarah, helped Canada to bronze at the 2025 World Games in China, and she won a battle with Elizabeth Ashgar for the women's quarterback's job. Marc-Antoine Decoy joins the flag team after a successful CFL career as a safety with the Montreal Alouettes that included 2 league All-Star nominations and a Grey Cup title in 2023. These World Championships are the first chance to qualify for the 2028 Los Angeles Games, where flag football will make its Olympic debut. The 2 top teams outside the United States in each competition qualify. Other spots will be decided at the 2027 IFAF Continental Championship and the Olympic Qualifier Series in 2028.
Fantastic. Let's talk about the Habs in the NHL and what's news with them.
Well, there's been obviously some noise over the fact that Carey Price is going to be inducted for the class of 2026. This is scheduled for the weekend of November 7th to 9th in Toronto. And as luck would have it, the Habs are scheduled to play the Maple Leafs on Saturday, November 7th. So when the Leafs honor the 2026 class, which includes Brian Burke, Patrice Bergeron, Cindy Curley, Carey Price, Pekka Rinne, and Keith Tkachuk, the Habs will also be taking part because they're going to be there for it. Better yet, if some of the players wanted to attend the induction ceremony on Monday, November 9th, that should be doable as well, since the Habs' next game takes place in Montreal on Tuesday, November 10th. Of course, not a lot of the current Canadians played with Price, but Suzuki, Cole Caulfield, Jake Evans, Josh Anderson, and Phil Deneau were all there when the netminders' exceptional play took the Habs to an unlikely Stanley Cup final in the first COVID season in 2021. So it'll be a chance for some of the old heads on the team to express their thanks to Carey, as well as be there for his special moment when he's inducted into the Hall of Fame.
He's still known in the locker room, and that's nice that he's going to be remembered like that and honored that soon, even though they don't always get honored right away, right? Let's talk about the Sens.
So going behind the numbers this season, the Senators have announced that 3 players are getting number changes for the coming season. I only mention this just in case you do actually happen to have their jerseys. This will be an opportunity for you to go to Canadian Tire Center to get that updated. Stephen Halliday is going to be going from number 83 to the number 34 that he wore with the Belleville Senators. Given his choice, he might have chosen 19, the number of the award to Ohio State, but that currently belongs to Drake Batherson, the second longest serving active Senator. Defenseman Carter Yukemchuk goes from 58 to 26. Yukemchuk wore 26 in Belleville last season during his first year as a pro, and also wore it in junior with the Calgary Hitmen. Now, that number was actually available when Yukemchuk was drafted in 2024, Eric Brandstrom was the last player to wear it before Yakemchuk arrived. Finally, Andre Burakovsky is going to be wearing number 95. The only other player to ever wear 95, at least in Ottawa, was Matt Duchene, who had it during the 2017-18 and 2018-19 season. Burakovsky wore 28 last season with the Blackhawks, a number that Claude Giroux has firm possession of in Ottawa. But even if it were available, Burakovsky would probably rather have switched anyways. 95 is his birth year, and he wore it for 6 seasons before arriving in Chicago last season, where Ilya Mikheyev had already laid claim to it. So, it's interesting to see that. Now, the other players as well for Carter Yakemchuk to wear 26 were Darren Rumble, Shane Hnidy, Joey Decord, Dylan Ferguson, and Artur Kaliev. So he's joining some interesting company there.
Absolutely. Let's talk about the Jets.
So there's been a lot of talk about moving Connor Hellebuyck. One of the teams that there's been a lot of noise made about has been Buffalo. The other is New Jersey. Now, New Jersey had Martin Brodeur for the longest time. There was also Corey Schneider, who was incredible for a couple of years, but the team around him was mostly crappy. Then there was Mackenzie Blackwood, who looked like he could have been that guy, but injuries forced him to bounce around before he finally got healthy with the Avs. The Devils then tried to bring in Jacob Markstrom, but that didn't work. Now, after trading him to the Florida Panthers, they're looking for a different way to work it. And it isn't likely what Sonny Meta really wants to do in that, but Jake Allen, Nico Dawes, and Dave Rittich are all under contract and expecting to play. For those of you familiar with Jake Allen, Nico Dawes, and Big Save Dave, that's not necessarily the best way to go about it if you want to try to put together a winning record. But yeah, one of the goalies that would actually make a great deal of sense for them to try to pick up, because he's been trying to move to a U.S. team, would be Connor Hellebuyck. He's been one of the best goalies in the NHL, ahead of backstopping Team USA to its first Olympic gold medal in 46 years. He won the Vezina Trophy 3 times and has a Hart Trophy as league MVP. If you put him on the Devils, their odds to win the division and make a deep run in the playoffs will get significantly better. Now, it's going to take a lot to make a trade like that, but for Hellebuyck, it would probably be worth it. The other goalie that they're talking about picking up would be Jordan Binnington, who one of those goalies that has been known to be hot and cold, but he played really well during the Olympics and also won the Four Nations face-off with Team Canada. So it'll be interesting to see them as a tandem in net.
Tell me about the Flames.
So the Flames have got an interesting little thing that they've got going here when it comes to goalies. They've gone the route of having an elite starter and then a value backup. Now the starter is going to be Wolf, who took over as Calgary's #1 goalie. He had 57 games, facing the toughest matchups night after night behind a Flames team that was kind of identityless. He had a 3.01 goals against average and an 8.99 save percentage. It doesn't necessarily put him amongst the league leaders, but context kind of matters in this situation. Now, the backup goalie is Devin Cooley, who quietly became one of the most valuable backups in the NHL. In 31 appearances, Cooley had a 269 goals against average and a 909 save percentage with a 10-10-6 record. But here's the thing. He faced nearly 95 expected goals against, but allowed only 77, which means he finishes with one of the strongest goals saved above expected totals amongst NHL backups. So you've got Wolf lighting it up, and then you've got Cooley, who's just as capable backing him up.
Let's talk about the Oilers.
So this is where you start to wonder how much better are the Oilers after the season, the moves they made in the off season. Goaltending is still shaky. It's not as uncertain as last year. Skinner and Pickard gave Edmonton a sense of familiarity even when the results weren't there. Tristan Jarry was coming off a rough stretch in Pittsburgh. Freddie Anderson is still fighting health issues that have trailed him for years, and Devin Levi is now a long-term project. But at minimum, the season won't hinge entirely on one guy refinding his game. Connor Murphy has built a career doing stuff nobody wants to be doing, like blocking shots, winning puck battles below the goal line, letting his partner play free. They've signed Ryan Shea and Shahir Mohammedullin. That's the projected bottom pairing defenseman. We'll have to reserve judgment on them. Jason Dickinson fixes a problem the team has carried through more than one playoff run because now there are 4 lines that the coach can trust. Dickinson wins draws, kills penalties, protects a lead, and can play without the puck on his stick. Now, none of that really seems to matter to a lot of people until Game 5 of a second-round series, but that depth is crucial in getting you there in the first place and getting you through the first couple of rounds quickly. So all in all, I think they are, for the most part, improved, but the proof is going to be in the pudding, and we won't know that until late September, early October.
John Marino, tell me about him and what he started.
So John Marino's extension with the Utah Mammoth could be the beginning of a final league-wide sprint. Beginning September 16th, when the NHL's new CBA takes effect, the maximum length for player contracts is going to drop from 8 years to 7. Now, this isn't anything new. This is what we saw coming. But Utah decided that they were going to hand out longer deals currently allowed in order to lock him up. They signed him to an 8-year extension worth $54 million on Tuesday, which has an AAV of $6.75 million. Once the new CBA goes into effect, contracts of that length will disappear unless the league and NHLPA negotiate another change in a future agreement. For contenders and rebuilding clubs alike, there's going to be a race to secure cornerstone players before that opportunity vanishes. Now, if my understanding of the CBA is correct, it means they don't necessarily have to sign them to an 8-year deal, which kicks in next season. It could be an 8-year deal that kicks in 2 or 3 seasons from now, which gives some additional flexibility under the cap. So, the ability to cost control more players is going to benefit teams around the league and help with parity as well.
In the NHL, where are they now, File, Aaron?
Yeah, so we wanted to take a look at the 5 members of the London 5. Carter Hart, as we all know, is in Vegas. He had a .909 save percentage and a .256 save percentage in 22 playoff starts. Dylan Dubé, he's got his first NHL deal as it currently stands with the Blues. They've signed him to a 1-year contract, paying him $850 against the salary cap. Michael McLeod was given an extra charge for being party to the offense. McLeod has no affiliation with any team in the NHL at the moment. He spent the past 2 seasons in the KHL, splitting time between Omsk and Nur Sultan. He had 22 goals and 48 points in 55 appearances for Omsk. Was followed by 17 playoff games with 1 goal and 11 points. He's set to remain with Omsk for 26 and 27. Alex Fermenton was already out of the NHL and playing in the Swiss National League even before all of this started with Ambry Piotta. The last time Fermenton featured in the NHL was 21-22 with the Sens, who drafted him 47th overall in 2017. So he's out of there. And the 5th member of the London 5, Cal Foote, recently had his butt handed to him by the Marlies in the Calder Cup final. One of the remarks that we heard going around the stands after Vegas lost and after Chicago lost was good. At least none of those buggers gets their names on a trophy.
So, let's talk about the Blackhawks. What's old is new again.
Yeah, Patrick Kane is officially heading back to the Blackhawks. It's a 2-year deal with $8 million per season. It's where he won 3 Stanley Cups with that team. He's obviously a future Hall of Famer, and that's the team that originally drafted him. I'm very happy for him. He has a chance to bring it all full circle. He's going to have a chance to mentor Connor Bedard, and I mean, who wouldn't want an opportunity like that? So, at the end of the day, he's got himself a good spot. He's got himself set up at least for the next couple of years. The hope here for them is that he's going to help ignite their offense for the second time in his career.
Sounds great. Aaron, awesome. Enjoy your weekend. I know I will. Some more CFL football tonight And the rest of this weekend, it's going to be a fun weekend sports-wise. And if you can't afford to pay the extra charge for hockey or any other streaming sports, there's so much of it going on, you don't really have to. You don't even have to get to the Tiddlywinks Championships. You're good with some real sports. Enjoy your weekend, everybody. For Aaron William Freeland, I'm Candid Frank Sanishi. Thank you for watching. We appreciate you.